legs, our hips, creating a bit of a tall spine with each inhale. Relax the shoulders through our exhale. Let's find those long, deep breaths, traveling tall, resting down, feeling just a little bit more lift as we inhale, a little bit more relaxation as we exhale. Then we'll begin to relax an ear to the shoulder, noticing our shoulder blades, relaxing through the side of the head. Then we'll reach up tall and release towards the other side. Lifting tall, sliding our shoulder blades up and down just a few times. As our shoulders rest, our palms can open. Inhaling fingertips towards the sky, joining the palms and resting thumbs down to the heart. Inhaling as we lengthen. Exhaling lower. Finding one more breath, inhaling tall. And exhaling down. As we interlace our fingers, feel the knuckles pushing out and the belly pulling in, noticing the shoulder blades widening out as we stretch and reach. Picking up the ribs, let's push the palms out ahead of us. Find a little flowing movement side to side. Arms traveling to one side, arms traveling towards the other side. Get just a little stretch side to side. And we can stay with this chest level movements, or we can push the arms towards the sky and add a little bit more rib cage release, but still trying to maintain tailbone on the ground as we stretch just a bit side to side and relax here for a few breaths. And we'll reach the heart up towards the sky, pulling the lungs towards the ceiling. Big lift in the chest. Exhaling, resting our hands to one side. Feel the ribs lift a little taller. We can twist at any rotation level your spine feels good about. Take just a moment to breathe. Inhale, reaching tall. Exhaling over towards the other side. Finding lift, finding twist as we breathe. Reaching back to neutral. Inhaling, stretching up. Exhaling, thumbs to heart. Then from here, we're resting our fingertips behind us, or maybe the palm feels the ground. Fingertips reaching forward if that's available. Stretching those shoulder blades as close towards each other as our chest opens and our throat and chin reach towards the sky. So we can stay here. You can feel your ribs lifting up a little taller. Maybe even picking up the hips as the lower belly engages, and find as much opening in our front side body as available today. And then we release our tailbone, feel the spine grow tall, fingertips stretching back towards the sky, exhaling thumbs into the heart. Reaching our bodies into an all fours option, feel the wrists coming underneath the shoulders, the knees resting underneath the hips, our lower belly kicks in. We're going to feel a few flowing movements with cow and cat, opening on the inhales, folding through the exhales, and creating a little release through the spine, any range of motion, any pace of movement that our bodies agree with today. Just a little stretch through our breath. And we're welcome to continue this flowing movement up and down as we feel a little evenness, maybe finding neutral and adding these side-to-side movements, shoulders towards the hips on one side, shoulders towards the hips on the other side. We get just a little reach side to side as we breathe. And as we end up in neutral spine, ribs coming in to stabilize, let's lift the right thigh up with our knee bent, sole of foot reaching up to the sky, inner thighs, lower belly kicking in for support. The knee can stay bent, or you can push through the heel to extend the leg towards straight. Feel that thigh pull the sole of the foot back up towards the sky, and the thigh push the heel back. So thinking about the movement happening from the thigh region as we bend and extend. Now as we bend, we're going to have a few options. First option is to push the thigh towards the sky, back in neutral line with the hip. So you feel that stretch through the front of the thigh. You can have a little different movement with the hip by opening the hip out to the side and feel the heel reach back towards the hip, and then the knee reach towards the shoulder. So you can feel the side movement with the thigh opening, thigh folding, or we can keep the relax that side. Ready to trade legs? Let's take the other knee in line with the hip, reminding our ribs and lower belly to activate the spine, and pushing the heel towards the back of the mat, pulling the heel back up towards the sky, pressing and lifting, feeling the active movement through our thighs as we breathe. And as we find bend in the knee, having our options to push the thigh to the sky and back to neutral with the hip, or adding that side movement with the heel towards the hip and the knee towards the shoulder. Choosing what our bodies feel the best about at the moment, and breathe. As we send that knee to the ground, feel a little rolling movement in the spine. So we're inhaling ribs out, pulling the ribs to one side up to the sky, back to the other side, and then back towards the ground, just like a little circling movement. We can stay in that circling direction, or we can trade the circling direction of the movement of the shoulders and ribs. And as we feel a little evenness in our spinal movements, option to tuck the toe. If the toes don't really feel like tucking today, our feet can maintain flat on the ground, so we get to choose. We're going to stretch the tailbone back towards the heels, finding our bodies. Child's pose for the moment. Maybe the ribs sink a little deeper. Maybe they hang out wherever. Feel a good release. Take a couple breaths here. Then we're going to have the option to just enjoy child's pose. We're going to have a little different type of flow. So we'll have the option to inhale, draw the heart forward, finding a kneeling plank. Lift the collarbone, the lower belly, the ribs, and then we can stay or inhale the heart towards the arms, and then exhale, reaching either the hips towards the heels, or the hips can stay stacking over the knees, so this option or this option. And then we'll feel one inhale, reach the arm behind us, maybe tapping lighter floor, bringing that arm back to the center. Then we'll reach the other arm back, maybe tapping leg or floor, reaching back to the center, and then both arms reach out, big lift in the lungs, and then fold back into our child's pose. So now let's see what we're doing. We're going to do that a few more times, so that you're down one and done. We can stay in child's pose. Otherwise, we can find our way into our kneeling plank, stabilize, and then inhale the heart forward. Exhaling all the way back, hips on the heels or stacking over. And then we'll send one arm back. Maybe the other arm opens to the sky, another option for variation. And then you can send the other arm back, maybe reaching the arm up to the sky. And then releasing both arms out, opening the chest. And then exhaling back to our child's pose. So maybe just one more. Inhaling, drawing forward, we can stay. We can inhale the heart open. Exhaling, hips over the knees or on the heels. Reaching one arm back, option to add that other arm reaching over. Sending the other arm back again, option to reach the other arm over. Arms to the side, lifting the lungs. Exhaling back. If we've had the toes tucked, let's relax the feet. Feeling a moment to rest through the back of the feet, through the tops of the feet. We can enjoy rest in our child's pose, or maybe find a downward dog as we tuck into the toes, stretching our legs towards straight or pedaling out our feet. Maybe even as we bend a knee, we lift a toe and start to add a little extra flexion in our ankles. Or you can lift a foot and circle the ankle for a bit, depending on how your feet are feeling today. Now we'll end up guiding our feet up and towards our hands, releasing into our bodies, forward fold, shoulders resting, head, neck releasing. Fingertips can rest on the ground, or relax on the shins, or reach towards the thighs. Find a place that we feel pretty stable. Enjoying stillness, or maybe our head and neck flow a little up and down. Maybe a little side to side, maybe a little up and down. Let our inhale lift up halfway. Maybe find parallels. We reach the back of the head away from the tailbone. Feeling grounding through the heels, squeeze all the way up to the sky, opening the lungs. Stretching one arm a little taller, and the other arm a little taller, finding that reach in our side body. We can continue this movement up and down. We can add a little twisting, guiding one arm forward, the other arm back, moving through straight arms, or maybe even bending elbows as we rotate the ribs side to side, so our body's choice, whatever working the best today. Keep breathing. Anytime our bodies find a little evenness from our movements, opening the heart towards the sky, and exhale, slowly diving down. Relax the shoulders. Sending the right knee back behind us. Left heel relaxes underneath the knees. The back knee rests. We can have hands on either side of the front leg or the inside, or using any supports. Inhaling and drawing the heart forward. We can hang out. Exhaling, relaxing the hips back. We can hang out. We can find a little flowing movement. Maybe our inhales draw the heart forward, and our exhales relax the hips back. We feel just a little flowing movement, releasing through each breath. We're going to feel a little stretch as we send our hips back, walking our fingertips underneath our shoulders, squeeze the lower belly in. And we can stay here, but if it's available, lifting fingertips up to the sky, it does add a bit of a balance challenge, so think about everything squeezing into the midline of the body to give us a little extra support. One arm can stay reaching up to the sky. Maybe one arm reaches to the ground. We let our fingers pull in opposite directions. Does also add a bit of a balance challenge. Hanging out here, send the other arm up towards the sky, the other arm towards the ground, stretching here. Maybe both arms reach back to the sky, or you can return to the space by the shoulders we had before, letting the inhale pull the heart towards the sky. And then as we exhale, returning our ribs towards the front thigh, and maybe add a few flowing breaths with our inhale, drawing the heart towards the toes, and our exhale, releasing our heart towards the thighs. We're finding just a couple of deep breaths, finding release with our breath. Our next inhale sends our hips and heart forward, letting our bodies find a moment of rest and peace. Maybe child's pose, maybe downward dog, any other position of rest our bodies feel good about. We can hang out, we can inhale, finding a plank or a kneeling plank to stay. Maybe exhaling, elbows into the ribs, inhale, opening the heart to cobra. Exhaling, returning into our position of rest, finding just a couple of breaths here. Noticing peace and release in the shoulders, the ribs, the hips as we breathe. And then maybe our next inhale helps the right foot travel in to our lunge. The heel relaxes under the knee, arms on either side or the inside, or using a prop. We can inhale and pull the heart forward, and exhale, relax the hips back. And again, we can continue in either option or flow back and forth with our body's breath pace or any other movement pattern, allowing our bodies to find our range of motion as we feel a little release into our exhales. And then maybe as that front leg lengthens towards straight, if it feels better with the bent knee, that's always available. Fingertips can relax underneath the shoulders to stay. Or maybe we squeeze into the midline of the body, let our hands come up to our hips, or maybe even reach fingertips towards the sky. So as we find a little bit more stability, maybe keeping one arm tall and sending the other arm to the ground, letting our fingers reach in opposite directions. Then we can trade the other arm up to the ground, down to the ground, the other arm up to the sky. And then from here, we can do arms tall or arms out. Feel that big lift in our lung. Exhale, returning our heart towards the thighs. Maybe feeling a few breaths as we inhale and guide the heart forward. And exhale, relax the ribs. inhaling the heart forward. Exhale, relax the ribs. Feeling that inhale, push our hips and heart to the front of the mat, and then our exhale returns to a child's pose to enjoy a moment of stillness. Or we can find some movements with our inhales, pulling our heart to plank or kneeling plank to stay. May we exhale, elbows into our ribs, inhaling, opening the heart, exhaling, resting it back. Feeling just a few restful breaths. Our body gets a moment to breathe. And helping our right foot stretch wide outside our right hand. So as we've come into this space, we're going to check in. We're going to have some options to bend the back knee. So you can kind of test your surroundings, and if you feel like you want a little extra knee support, of course, bending that back knee is optional, so that is an option that we may choose not to engage in today. But if you think you might be more supportive with this blanket or towel underneath the knee, we can choose that. And then we'll find a little bit of flowing movement, letting our inhales pull the hips and heart forward, letting our exhales release our hips and thighs back. And we're feeling just that reach and release, noticing the relaxation through the body as we find rest through the breath. Now here's the option if you feel like bending the back knee. As our inhale brings the heart forward, the back heel can come up. The exhale can relax it back down. So our body's option to bend the knee or to leave the foot on the floor. Or just take a couple more deep breaths. Now the next time we send our hips forward, again, the back toes are up or down, our body's choice. Taking up the collarbone, finding the support as we stretch the spine as tall as available, and we feel that reach and openness through the front side body. The arm of this front leg stretches forward. We feel that reach. We can stay here. We can send the arm up to the sky and feel the collarbone reaching wide. We can stay here, stretch the arm back, and maybe if that back knee is bent, we find the foot. We don't have to find the foot. The knee does not have to be bent. But we're picking up the ribs from either option and try to open the chest maybe a little bit more tall towards the sky. Then whatever we're doing with the back leg, we're going to bring the palms forward and rest the back foot. And then this front thigh has a little option to move. So maybe the outer hip opens to the side and we stay. Or we use the thigh and inner hip and outer hip movements to squeeze us in and press us out. So as we activate the movement from the thigh, the knee and the ankle kind of follow along down that kinetic chain. But as long as the hip is happy, we keep the other joints mostly happy. But all of our bodies have had different experiences in life, so opening may not be available for our hips or our knee or our ankle today, so our bodies get to choose movement or stillness. And then with the thigh open or thigh folded in, our palms can maintain grounding under the shoulders. If we have a block, we can rest our elbows on the block or rest the elbows on the ground. Bending the elbows is optional. Arms are always welcome to stay straight. Feeling the collarbone lifting from either option to maintain support through our shoulder girdle, and then maybe feel a little length in our spine. We can rest our head and neck, taking just a moment to breathe. And then as we feel the ground with our palms and the sole of the foot, this foot can find its way back into child's pose, or we can return into a plank or downward dog, or we can send the foot up to the sky to a three-legged dog with the legs straight, or you might feel a little extra rest opening those hip flexors and the top of the thigh up towards the sky. And then anytime we are ready for a place of relaxation, maybe child's pose, maybe downward dog, maybe all fours, always having the option to relax in stillness. Maybe we feel like a plank or a kneeling plank to stay and stabilize the body. We're welcome to add any flowing movements that our body's craving at the moment. And then anytime we're ready, Returning our bodies back into a resting position, maybe child's pose, maybe downward dog. We get to choose. Take just a moment to breathe. And then as we're ready to trade sides, the left foot can come wide outside the left hand, and having those same options with the back knee. So if we think we might want to bend the knee and we want that extra cushion, rearranging to make sure that our knees are happy. Palms resting under the shoulders. Our inhale flows the heart towards the front of the mat. Our exhale flows the heart towards the back of the mat. Enjoying any range of motion, any pace of movement, allowing our bodies to feel rest and release as we breathe. Just a few resting exhales. If you want to add that leg movement, the knee can begin bending, heel towards the hip. As our hips release back, toes can relax back on the ground. And again, you can choose the flowing movement, you cannot, it depends on how our knees are feeling today. So checking in, being mindful. A lot of times the more we push that hip forward, the more we kind of roll on towards that bottom of the femur bone, so we're really not on the patella anymore. And that sometimes creates less sensation than if we're on the kneecap itself. Now the next time we reach forward, back knee bent or not, our body's choice, we're going to feel that reach, feel that front body stretching open, the hip flexors opening, the ribs opening, spine reaching tall. The arm of the front leg has the option to reach forward or to stretch towards the sky, lifting through the collarbone. Maybe the arm reaches back. If we had the knee bent, our foot might find our hand, our foot might not. It's never a necessity to reach against the feet in life. We're just take a couple of breaths here. Maybe lifting the ribs a little taller to the sky. And you will feel a little bit more stretch in the front side body. Then if we've, whatever we're doing with that back leg, we're going to bring both palms back under the shoulders, and then we have the option to move the front thigh. So maybe the outer hip opens and the inner thigh folds. This is optional. Thighs can stay in and enjoy just that release in our hips. Thighs can stay open and enjoy that release in our hips. Or if you feel like keeping the flow happening as we activate through the thigh, we get a little bit more stability in that movement through our joints. And with the thigh open or folded, our body's choice, we're just going to feel the wrist under the shoulders to stay, or the elbows rest on the block or the floor. Collarbone can lift, heart can stretch forward. Thigh needs stability through our shoulders, relaxing and resting into our breath. If we've relaxed our elbows, guiding our palms back under the shoulders, find that support through the collarbone, the wrist, lower belly. This front foot can find its way back to child's pose, to plank or downward dog, or all the way back up to the sky into a three-legged dog with the leg straight or the knee bent and the thigh pressing higher up towards the ceiling. Then we'll enjoy a moment of relaxation. Maybe child's pose, maybe downward dog, maybe all fours. Maybe we flow through a plank or kneeling plank and hang out. We can have any flowy movement our bodies feel stable with today. And then maybe our bodies find a moment of peace in child's pose and let your wrist and your fingers wiggle out maybe just a little bit to find a little bit of peace where we may have created any extra sensations. In child's pose, the arms can stay stretching to the top of the mat. Both arms can reach over towards one side, finding that stretch in our side body. Maybe finding neutral and over towards the other side, taking just a moment to breathe. And as we find ourselves back to neutral, drawing our feet up towards our hands, allowing our bodies to find rest in any variation of a forward fold, maybe fingertips on the ground, the shins, or the thighs, shoulders, head and neck resting with gravity. Maybe your head and neck flow a little up and down, maybe flowing a little bit of side to side, maybe a little up and down again. Let our inhale lift us up halfway. Grounding our heels, inhaling, lifting all the way hard towards the sky. Relaxing the arms, maybe add a little swaying movement, releasing through our shoulders, the ribs, lower back. Just a moment to breathe. And then from wherever we're at, we're working on some balancing. If you want to be in the center of your mat, you can remove your knee support. We're going to let one foot feel the ground. Maybe our toes widen as our arch lifts, our thigh engaged, the knee joint can soften. The other thigh can be bent forward or the outer hip can open. Let's squeeze it in and up, ground the palms, find our focus, and then choosing any variation of tree, maybe toe on the ground, maybe floating, maybe foot in our calf or thigh, avoiding pressure on our joints. Palms can maintain grounding, palms can rest or reach out or towards the sky. Anywhere we're feeling pretty stable today, let's find a few relaxing exhales. Noticing the rest in our breath as our bodies feel, the body release through our exhales. Anytime we're ready to relax, maybe move the joints a bit or maybe shake them out, get a little release. Trading sides as we're ready. The other foot can feel the ground, squeezing in and up. The other thigh can be forward or open. Let's feel the grounding, find our focal point, choosing our body's tree for today, finding calf thigh, avoiding our joints for pressure, palms resting or out or towards the sky. Find anywhere along the way as we breathe, creating relaxation, a little peace through our breath. Noticing rest through our exhales. Anytime we're ready for peace, let's relax our joints, maybe shake them out a bit. Then we're moving into our body's version of dancer pose. The other foot feels the ground. The foot we're not standing on reaches back. Arms stretch in the direction of our legs, and maybe this back arm opens, palm preparing for the foot if you think you might want to drop there. As the front foot takes on the weight, maybe the toe floats, maybe the knee bends, maybe the foot finds that open hand we had prepared for it. We can squeeze in our thighs to stay or inhale, push the thigh and chest further open. Any variation of our dancer pose we're feeling pretty stable with, creating rest through our breath. Let's relax that side and then move in our joints how we feel comfortable. Trading legs, arms in the direction of our feet. The front foot taking on more weight, maybe floating the toes, bending knees, or our foot can find that open hand we had waiting on us. You can even press the thumbs to that bottom of that second toe. It sometimes can help us with balance. If we'd like a little bit more stretch, maybe inhaling through the thigh and the rib cage, feel more openness in our front side body. Continuing to breathe. As our body rests, let's shake out the joints, find a little release. And as we inhale at the front of our mat, our heart stretches towards the sky. Exhaling as we slide down, reaching back to either all fours or downward dog, taking a moment to breathe. As we have the option to move into pigeon, we can send the right toes out or up, guiding the right knee towards our right wrist and relax here. Now if you have cushioning, you can prop up the back hip with a block or a blanket or both. And it will give you a little bit more support from the hip or the knee. Always have the option to stay tall and lifted. If our bodies feel like more stretch, you can usually find a little bit more release as that toe reaches back. Our ribs can stay tall and lifted depending on where we're wanting to stretch today. We can feel the stretch again through the front side body. Or as we send our ribs towards the ground, we find more stretch in the front thigh and outer hip. So letting our bodies choose, just a moment of rest and peace wherever we're feeling our best stretch at the moment. Find a few releasing exhales. Welcome to continue here as long as this side wants to stretch. Anytime we're ready, we can open up the front side of the body. We can ground the palms, tuck the back toe. The front knee can return where it came from, the all fours, child's pose, downward dog, three-legged dog, our body's choice. As we're ready to trade sides, maybe stretching out the left leg and helping the left knee forward. And again, we can just continue where we've landed. We can prop up our hips if that feels like a good option. We can slide the tailbone a little closer towards the ground. Maybe we stay open and lifted, stretching through our front side body, or we find as much reach towards the ground as we feel like a good rest in today. Let's continue to relax through our breath, finding release with our exhales, just wherever our bodies allow us at the moment, finding peace and rest with our breath. Two relaxing exhales. Anytime we're ready again, our bodies are welcome to continue as long as we feel a good stretch. Maybe we open through the front side body as we ground into our palms, maybe into that back toe. Our front foot can reach back wherever it started from. That works on our body today. If we end up in downward dog, maybe we relax our hips and knees a bit side to side, or from an all fours, we can fold our shoulders and our hips together, or feel a little rest in our child's pose just for a moment and breathe. Now with our next inhale, we're going to come up onto our knees. So if you think that you want a little extra knee cushion, find that spot. We're going to move our legs towards the top of our mat. So you want to have it maybe towards the back of the mat, the knee support. And then hands on the hips or the heart. Want to squeeze through the inner thighs, the lower belly, and then movement of our legs is optional. But as one thigh kicks in, like we're balancing, the other foot can come forward into a lunge. Then pick up through the lower belly, slide that knee back, and then squeeze it in, press the other foot forward, squeeze it in, pull it back. Let's do a couple more each side. You can hang out on the knees without the lunge movement at any time. Just kind of a little balance challenge from a different perspective on our knees instead of on our feet. All right, so from here, we're going to have just a few options with our legs. So depending on how our knees feel, this may be the posture we continue in. can tuck your toes here if you want, but if it's available, we're going to stay with our foot flat. If you have a block, or if you want to have a rolled up cushion or pillow behind you, you have the option to sit on it. If you're someone that doesn't flex in their knees very much, it might feel more supported. But you can always stay hips over knees. That's a good option to have no knee flexion. And then depending upon what your block feels like and the stretch and the knee comfort you feel, you can have various options on the block. Or if your hips and knees are happy, resting on your heels with the foot flat. If the foot doesn't want to be flat, it can flex. But we're going to try a few different foot stretches. So if you can have different options if your feet allow that, and they may not. So another option from here, so you take your hands, and depending on how big your calves are, maybe helping the thumb roll them out to the side gives you a little bit more space to relax in the legs. So again, wherever the knees and hips are happiest, we're going to have some options for arm movements. So depending on where our knees and hips are, maybe our hands stay on our hips. Maybe we're able to reach back towards the ground or the leg on one side, and maybe reach back towards the ground on the leg on the other side. Now, first option is to maybe just flow side to side, or keep the hands on the hips. Second option is let both fingertips or palms feel the ground. Now, depending on how your knees and hips are happy today, squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other and open the heart to the sky. If you feel a lot of freedom and relaxation in your knees and hips right now, you have the option to lift your knees up off the ground, but it can add a lot of intensity. So if you thought that's a bad idea, then it probably is, and you should not do that. So with your thighs, knees up or down, still options with hips up or down. If your hips are on your heels, this may not work otherwise. If your hips up, you can come down onto your elbows. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to get really intense really quickly. If this feels all right, you can even go down onto your shoulders, but again, it's going to get really intense really quickly, and the thighs can be up or down, depending on how much stretch you're feeling like today. Sitting on the block or hips over your knees is always a good option for a whole lot less intensity on your knees and hips. So if you've gone down, you gotta come back up. That's the fun part. All right. Now, if it's available, we're going to try to tuck in to our toes. Now, some of our feet or ankles may not allow this. We can stay tall. That will take a lot more pressure off of your feet. Or sitting on the block will also take more pressure off your feet to get some stretch in the bottom of your foot. If you have any sensations of plantar fasciitis, sometimes this stretch is good to help activate some of those muscles that may have fallen asleep. Now we'll reach one arm up to the sky. Maybe we stay. Maybe we stretch over our head here and get a little reach through our side body. And then if we went to one side, we can lift and then reach towards the other side. Maybe one more each side. Lifting, stretching over, lifting, stretching over. Now we'll come to the center. We're going to let the feet come back maybe. If this works on your legs, you'll feel different sensations possibly. Again, your hips can be up or hips can rest on the heel. We're not going to back bend, but we're going to twist. Maybe hands towards one hip or towards the ground. Coming back to neutral, and then we can do hands towards the other hip or the ground. And then reaching into that all fours. Hello, freedom in the knees. And you can bang out the tops of the feet if you want, just to release out any extra sensations that we may have created. Now as we come into a staff pose, if you'd like to elevate your hips, now that we had that cushion for our knees, we have a cushion for our hips if you would like to use it. And we'll relax our tailbone, let our legs stretch out, a little bit more freedom in our knees as we feel a little rocking side to side. And then from here, maybe one thigh opens. We can slide the sole of the foot in a little bit or a little bit more. Finding rest as we inhale. Let's open up the heart to stay, or exhale to our diagonal, or fold the heart towards the ground. Taking just a moment to relax through our thighs, our hips, a little different movement than we were doing before with all the opening in the front side. Now we're allowing it to relax back in just a bit and breathe. If this side is feeling a pretty awesome stretch, we can stay here. Anytime we'd like to trade sides, we can extend the bent knee and then open up the thigh, and maybe foot comes in, calf or thigh, and we can stay tall and lifted. We can create the diagonal. Maybe we rest the heart towards the thighs. Let's find a moment to breathe, peace through our breath. With our spine tall, shoulders relaxed. If we are sitting on a cushion of some sort, you can take it out. I will give you an option for a restorative fish. So if you had more of a blanket or towel-like posture, you can turn it into what I call the blanket log or towel log. And depending on how thick it is will be how much openness in your chest. Or again, you're welcome to use a block. And we're going to do bridge as well, so if you think you might like either one of them while we're in a reclined option, you might have them by your side for easy access. And with our feet stretching to the front of the mat, creating inner thigh engagement, lower belly engagement, finding that support, holding on or reaching out or hanging on just one leg. We can feel the spine release towards the ground, arms by the side, or maybe stretching the arms over the head and finding that reach as our fingers and our toes may extend and lengthen away from each other. And then we can relax, feeling shoulders, feeling ribs, feeling hips, all releasing just for a moment as we breathe. If we found a really good place to rest, our body's always welcome to choose this for as long as we feel like. Anytime we're ready for bridge, sliding our heels towards the hips, lower back resting on the ground. If you have a block and feel like using it, or the rolled up blanket you can use as well to slide inside the thighs for more pelvic floor strengthening, or slide under the tailbone for supported bridge. We can slide the shoulder blades together, forearms and feet push into the ground, and we have the option to float the hips up off the ground. Thighs, hips, and heart stretch towards the sky, finding that reach through the front side body, but freedom in our head and our neck, finding that place of openness with each inhale and stability with each exhale. And we're noticing each breath, feeling that expanding lung with that fresh oxygenated breath, allowing our bodies to find that open posture as we breathe. And anytime maybe we release the tailbone to the ground, if we've used a block or a blanket or a towel, we can rest it to the side. Feeling the right toes reaching up to the sky, hands on the right leg if that's available. If not, hands can rest on the ground. We can circle the toes on the ceiling. And then maybe trade the direction of those toe ankle circles. You can keep the movement in the ankle, or with our arms resting by our side, we can point or flex the toe and circle the whole leg, feeling the hip joint release. And then maybe trading that direction of the circle. From here, we're flexing the ankle if that's available, stacking it at the left knee thigh region, pulling through the lower belly into the lower back, into the ground. Forearms pushing into the ground, we can stay, or flow that leg structure back and forth. Thighs towards the chest, thighs away from the chest. Maybe a little bit of movement. If we'd rather have stillness here, we can reach through and hug that bottom thigh in and feel the toes drawing deeper to the knees, activating those lower leg muscles, and we find just as much stretch as our bodies are feeling the best about at the moment. We take a couple of deep exhales, noticing peace and rest with each exhale through any place that our bodies may be finding any extra sensations today, and noticing our breath, allowing those extra sensations to release out of our body and out into the ground with each breath. And then if our bodies have found a really awesome place to hang out in, we can stay. As our knees stack over our hips, maybe the arms rest by our side, our lower back planted to the ground, and then we feel this leg structure move all the way over towards the left, and maybe gaze over to the right. Now, we may have found the perfect spinal twist for our body today. You can add any level of intensity that you're feeling an extra stretch in. We have a little bit of relaxed front side of the thighs, so you may find a little bit more relaxation in postures than at other times. So maybe we take a hand and feel that top thigh pull down deeper towards the floor. It does add an increase in sensation. You even have the option to send that bottom hand or back hand to the bottom back foot and add a little bit more back bending into this rotation. So you can decide how much stretch you're feeling like today. Give a few resting exhales where our body is feeling peace and our spine's rotation. And take just a couple more deep breaths. Feeling again, each exhale traveling out those extra sensations into the ground. Finding more space for that extra relaxing, peaceful breath to travel into through our inhales. Finding rest and peace as we breathe. Maybe even taking a moment to check in to see if we're feeling tightness in a muscle that just doesn't need to be working at the moment. Maybe we feel intensity in our jaw. We can add a soft part of the lips to relax out the jaw. We can release out any extra sensations in the back of the thighs and the hips. Sometimes they clench with tension as well. Now we are resting our arms back into our T, guiding our leg structure back up towards the sky, and noticing rest and peace as our spine relaxes back on the ground. Continuing here, or when we're ready, let's trade legs. So the right foot feels the ground, the left toe reaches up to the sky. Option to hold on to the thigh as we circle through the ankles, feel a little freedom through the feet and ankles. And we trade that direction. And then we can continue the movement in just the ankle or ground the forearms and maybe point or flex the foot and feel that whole leg circling, rolling through that hip. Staying in this direction, or we can trade that direction of our leg circle or foot circle, our body's choice. If it's available, flexing the ankle, stacking it at that knee thigh region, and feel the grounding into our forearms, the lower back, enjoying stillness, or guiding thighs towards the chest, thighs away from the chest. Stretching and releasing as we breathe, noticing those relaxing exhales wherever our body gives us stretch. If you'd rather have a moment of stillness instead of movement, we can really hug the thighs into the chest and draw the toes towards the knees. So we get to choose where our body is feeling our best stretch today. Each exhale pushing those extra sensations out of the body, finding peace with each exhale and relax through the breath. Now our bodies have the option to continue here. Maybe we send our arms to the side, and then with as much support as available, feeling the thighs rolling all the way over towards the right. Maybe the sole of the foot feels the ground, and we enjoy the place that our body has naturally led us into at the moment. So again, if you feel like you've stretched out enough for extra sensations, you can use the hand to guide the thigh maybe a little closer towards the ground. Maybe even the back hand and the back foot find each other and relax. As we gaze away from the bent knees, our entire spinal column is available to feel that release through our spine, our hips, the lower back, our ribs, the shoulders, noticing peace and release through each exhale that our bodies give us to push out those extra sensations and to find space for a more peaceful, resting breath. Taking a moment to check in, noticing if this side of the body finds those intense places where our body kind of clenches up in our jaw, the thighs, the hips, allowing those spaces to release, and might even find that gives us a lot more freedom to relax as we breathe. And again, our bodies can continue in this rotation as long as this feels like a good stretch for us today. As we're ready, maybe we return onto our spine and noticing the spine releasing, the tailbone, the ribs, the lower back relaxing, feeling that rest and peace through our breath. Now, if you think that you might enjoy that restorative fish option that I mentioned earlier, you're welcome to use your rolled up blanket towel log or block, depending on which one might feel like the best option at the moment or whatever is available. The block or blanket might rest under the shoulders or down the spine if you have the blanket log, and feel the openness of the throat and the chin towards the sky and the top of the head to relax on the ground. If we have the support underneath our shoulders or the spinal column, the arms can rest wherever we feel peace in the shoulders and allow the openness in the front side body. We have lots of leg options. Our feet can wiggle to the sides of the mat and maybe our knees fall together. If you'd rather have more movement in the legs, you can add some windshield wipering movements and get a little release side to side through our thighs, hips, lower back. If you'd rather have a little bit more passive hip opening today, maybe the soles of the feet join together, our thighs relax wide, and we find a moment of stillness. Or maybe one thigh folds up towards the sky and the other thigh releases towards the ground. And then if we'd like a more traditional relaxation, our feet can extend out. If we do have a prop under our shoulders or spine, we're welcome to keep them there through our time of final relaxation. We do spend a lot of time in our days traditionally in a gazed down posture with our chin towards the chest, whether we're reading or gazing at a computer or a cookbook or a phone. So allowing a little extra time in this expanded front body posture gives us just a little bit more relaxation and rest, helping remind our chest to open and to remind our shoulders and our shoulder blades and back to relax. So wherever we found a place that we might be able to enjoy focusing on our breathing, we're gathering in those long deep breaths with each inhale, releasing out those long deep breaths with our exhale. Maybe we count our breath. Maybe we just enjoy the flow of the breath coming in and the breath of the ebbing out. Notice our breath, feeling peace and relaxation. We may have found a perfect place to continue. If we'd rather add a little bit more movement in our joints, we're welcome to travel the breath into our fingertips, into our toes, maybe into our feet, into our hands, maybe through our wrist, into our ankles, our knees, and our elbows, our hips, and our shoulders. As we feel the breath in our spine, maybe removing any props we've placed there to get just a moment of peace for our spine, resting in a still position on the ground. We can welcome any movements to relax the spine, or maybe we feel comfortable resting over onto our side, either side that feels like a good option at the moment. Feel a few deep breaths of peace, rest, and calm coming in through one side, allowing anything we just don't need today to release out through the other side and down time we're ready, we'll help our bodies into our comfortable position of rest. Option to prop the hips up again on our blanket or block, or enjoying the floor. Spine grows tall, shoulders rest. Let's open the palms. Inhale, fingertips towards the sky. Exhaling, thumbs down to the heart. Inhaling as we lengthen. Exhaling as we lower. Finding one more breath. Inhaling tall. Exhaling down. Namaste. Thank you guys for joining me. Have an awesome day, whatever it is on online land.